Welcome to Game Theorem, where we have serious discussions about absurd entertainment.
Are you suggesting that sacrificing others for hope isn't real hope? But you're wrong. It's only natural and extremely obvious that strong hope devours weak hope. Nagito Kamaeda, the ultimate lucky student.
We're doing Danganronpa again.
Yay!
Oh my god.
Nagito is quite the character.
Yeah.
And we've talked about him for quite a bit in the backstory, but we'll be talking about him a bit more. Because we're well, here, why don't you tell us where we left off on this, Kira, because this is a revisit episode. Oh, by the way, every trigger warning you can imagine. There you go.
That's funny. I believe we left off at the beginning of Ultra Despair Girls, or
a little bit into it.
Yeah. Okay.
We had just gotten to the part where Masaru had a botched execution.
Oh, okay. Okay. So yeah, that's where we are. And
yep. This is part 4 of our Danganronpa series?
I literally don't know.
Danganronpa's a lot, and we love it.
Danganronpa is a lot.
And we love it. Although there is parts to criticize, but we love it anyway.
Yeah.
All right, do you want to go first, or should I?
You go first.
Okay. Toko and Kamaru met Shirokuma, who had started an underground safe house in the sewers to help the adults survive. The only ones that survived were adults who had no children, and they were able to escape, whereas most parents were unable to escape the Monokuma kids. The adults called themselves the Resistance, and they were led by Haiji Toa, who vouched for Shirokuma.
Toko and Kamaru also befriended Hirako, another target who was part of the Resistance. She said they could bring back information about other targets, and she'd send people to sneak up to the surface and rescue them.
Haiji hated them because Toko was part of Future Foundation. So Toko, Kamaru, and Shirokuma came up with their own plan to get to the top of Toa Tower to contact Future Foundation. Toko and Kamaru scaled the tower, fighting off Monokumas along the way, and they met Taichi, another target, who was hacking the elevator door open. However, he was killed by some beast Monokumas after unlocking the elevator. That was Chihiro's father.
Yeah, that was
also,
really
by the way,
sad.
Haiji is... It's very implied he's a pedophile.
Really?
With just some of the things he says in passing. It's very implied.
Yeah. On one stop of Toa Tower, Toko and Kamaru found another coliseum, this time run by Jotaro, who demonstrated a piece of art he made using dozens of adult corpses. Jotaro has summoned his own robot called Priest Robot Dr. Von Gerald. He used it to fight Kamaru and Genocide Jack, but he lost the fight.
Jotaro's botched execution. The robot was destroyed and the Monokuma kids dragged Jotaro away. They pulled off his mask to reveal what he claimed to be his ugly face. But his face was actually beautiful by most standards.
This is like a weird thing in the game, because like most of the time he explains how ugly he is and how nobody likes him and stuff like that, and then you find out that he's actually really adorable, which suggests an incredible complex on the part of whoever his parents were.
Well, no, I think it's more like gaslighting. He's been gaslit into thinking he's ugly when he's actually beautiful.
Oh, I see what you mean.
It's really sad and unfortunate.
Toko and Kamaru reached the top of Toa Tower and used their network to contact the outside. They spoke to Makoto, now a high-ranking member of Future Foundation. They told him the situation, and Makoto explained to Kamaru the state of the world and what happened in the killing school life. Monokuma kids ambushed them and severed the connection.
Upon returning to the safe house, Monokumas followed their trail and attacked. While the adults attempted to fend them off, Kodako paralyzed and kidnapped Kamaru. Again, as always, we're going to be attaching the infographic to help you keep track of characters in case you forgot any of them.
Oh, yeah.
Just to remember, there's the 5 kids. Kodako's the girl of the kids. Oh, sorry, there's 2 girls. She's the very effeminate one. And then Toko and Kamaru are the main heroes of this game. Just, I understand Japanese names, especially for an American audience, can be confusing. Although, shout out if you're not an American. Congratulations.
Kodako put Komaru in a torture device that sexually assaulted her repeatedly so that Komaru could experience the torment that Kodako had. Genocide Jack arrived to rescue Komaru, destroyed the machine, and crashed Kodako's train into her coliseum. They unknowingly used Kodako's trigger word, gentle, and so Kodako summoned her robot called Fighter Robot Highlander the Great. She used it to fight Komaru and Genocide Jack, but she lost the fight.
And this whole scene is handled basically as well as you would think it would be. It's the worst scene in the entirety of maybe even Danganronpa, but especially Ultra Despair Girls, because let's just say a bunch of old Japanese men handle a scene about sexually abusing a minor about as well as you think they would. They don't do it well at all. It's horrible. This is garbage.
Yeah, I think this is where you find out what happened to Kodako.
I mean, like, again, it could have been done right. You could have told a compelling story about trauma and abuse. I think there are right ways to do it that just aren't so, like, the way it's done almost like forces the player to engage in the pedophilia.
Yeah, it's really weird.
Kodako's botched execution. The robot was destroyed and the Monokuma kids dragged Kodako away. However, Genocide Jack intervened and prevented the kids from dragging her away.
Nagisa approached Komaru and Toko. He realized they were a threat to the demon hunting, and he made them an offer. He promised to show them a secret exit from the city if they would just leave. Komaru accepted that offer, and he removed Komaru's explosive wristband.
Monica sent Nagito to stop Nagisa when she learned of his betrayal. When Nagisa, Komaru, and Toko arrived at the secret exit, Nagito told Nagisa he was a traitor, and Nagisa ran away upset. Nagito then disparaged Toko and seeded a rift in her relationship with Komaru.
Komaru felt betrayed that Toko had met Nagito before, and Genocide Jack decided to pretend to be evil so that Komaru would just leave already and not feel like she had to stay. The two of them eventually came to an understanding and chose to rescue everyone, especially Byakuya in Towa City. Genocide Jack was going to kill Nagito, but Komaru stopped her so she could still be in Future Foundation.
I actually really love this scene. Because, like, the best thing about this game is the relationship between Komaru and Toko, right?
Mm-hmm. And this scene really shows their relationship.
It challenges it, but they come out the other side better. Mm-hmm. But I think it's also interesting in that most of the interactions are between Komaru and Toko's other personality, Genocide Jack. Mm-hmm. And we don't really get to see Genocide Jack doing. I mean, look at that name, right? Mm-hmm. Like, often Genocide Jack's just kind of the powerhouse, but we see Genocide Jack actually express like a plethora of emotions in this scene, rather than just bloodthirst. And I really like seeing Toko and Jack interacting a bit, as opposed to Komaru and Jack, as opposed to Komaru and Toko that we see in much of the other parts of the game. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then Nagito is just like, hope, 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 despair, despair.
It's just terrible, like always. Toko and Komaru returned to the safe house, but Monokuma's found a way into the safe house from a hole in the back. Toko and Komaru fought off Monokuma's, but Shirokuma offered himself up as a sacrifice. They helped him detonate an explosion that collapsed the hole, saving the adults. Shirokuma barely survived as a detached head.
Yeah, that was really sad, Shirokuma sacrificing itself. Mm-hmm. Because at this point in the game, you didn't know about Shirokuma. Mm-hmm. Haiji finally decided that they should fight back, and he told Toko and Komaru he knew of a trump card that his father had made for the Towa group. Haiji, Toko, and Komaru went to a Monokuma manufacturing facility. After fighting their way into the facility, they found a Monokuma built to the size of a giant mech suit called Big Bang Monokuma.
Nagisa suddenly appeared and summoned his robot called Sage Robot Hannibal X. He used it to fight Komaru and Genocide Jack, upset that they hadn't escaped like they should have, but he lost the fight.
Nagisa's botched execution. The robot was destroyed, but the large explosion covered up Nagisa's escape.
The adults in the Resistance had TV monitors where they could see all of the adults that the Warriors of Hope and the Monokuma kids were murdering, and the adults began to hate the children immensely. Unbeknownst to them, Shirokuma provided Kurokuma with details on each adult there, and Kurokuma relayed the information to Monica, who specifically sought out relatives of each adult in the Resistance.
So Monica's like masterfully manipulating all this.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to pit the children against the adults and make the adults hate the children.
Mm-hmm.
So when Haiji found Big Bang Monokuma, he started piloting it to take revenge on other Monokumas. He rampaged through the city on his way to Toa Hills, Toa's headquarters, with the Resistance following behind him.
Toko and Kamaru made their way to Toa Hills as well, but they couldn't enter the secret facilities without passing a retinal scan. They went to Tokuichi's office, where he had been killed by Monokumas, and Kamaru took his severed head to the retinal scanner.
Kamaru had claimed to be able to see ghosts since she was young, and she claimed to see the ghost of Tokuichi Toa, who revealed the nature of his relationship with Monica. That was so dumb.
It was literally just shoehorned in there because they needed Kamaru to know the relationship without anyone telling her, because
you could have just left a note.
Yeah.
You could have just left a note.
And then they also decided that, what was it? Why did Kamaru need to know that in the first place anyway?
It's for a scene that hasn't happened yet. They realized there was some information about, Haiji, Monica, and Tokuichi's family dynamic that they hadn't really made clear. Mm-hmm. And so they did that at the last minute to make it clear. But Kamaru's supposed to be an ordinary girl, but also she sees ghosts. Yeah. Now, they seem to try to play it off as like, who knows if it was real? Maybe she was hallucinating, right? Because Toko was like, what are you even talking about? I don't see anything. Mm-hmm. However, she learned information she couldn't possibly have known.
Yeah, exactly. That's the bad thing about it. Yeah. Toko and Kamaru met Kotoko again, who told them that Monica had dropped the ruse of pretending to care about the children's paradise. So Kotoko told them where Byakuya was in retaliation.
Toko and Kamaru made their way into Monica's fortress, where they discovered Monica wasn't hiding the fact that she was not bound to a wheelchair anymore.
Monica had Kurokuma summon her robot, an amalgamation of the other robots the Warriors of Hope use, called Mage Robot Black Suspirin. Where do you get these names for the robots?
Oh, they, like, when you fight them, they have this big, like, splash screen that shows what their name is.
Oh. Monica and Kurokuma used it to fight Kamaru and Genocide Jack, but they lost the fight. When the robot exploded, Kurokuma was decapitated and his head fell out of a window.
The Resistance was at the door of Toa Hills and ready to murder any child that came their way. Monica handed over her Monokuma controller and told Kamaru to smash it. Haiji and the Resistance agreed and told her to smash it. But Toko and Kotoko urged Kamaru to reconsider, figuring that smashing it would make the Monokuma helmets kill all the children that were brainwashed into wearing them. So we're seeing the adults have just been whipped up into such a revenge fantasy fury that they aren't caring about any type of damage they might do that's untoward towards the kids. Like they're overdoing it. You see what I mean? Mm-hmm.
To convince Kamaru to smash the controller, Monica showed Kamaru video footage she captured of two particular adults she had tortured, hanged, and killed. Makoto's and Kamaru's mother and father. Monica explained that she wanted to create the next Junko Onishima, and to do that, she needed someone to fall in as much deep despair that Kamaru just had.
Because they show that she killed your parents. Mm-hmm. Shirokuma then began piloting Big Bang Monokuma and attacked everyone else very suddenly. Toko managed to talk Kamaru out of her despair, and they agreed to save both the children and the adults. But first they had to defeat Big Bang Monokuma. After a long battle, Kamaru and Genocide Jack managed to destroy it. Shirokuma was ejected and sent flying. Mm-hmm. Best female relationship in the game.
Yeah. I forget, wasn't there debate as to whether the video footage that Monica showed Komaru about her parents was real or not?
There's this dumb thing where Komaru was like, maybe it wasn't my parents because they didn't have a lapel that said my parents on them. But look at it, it was obviously your parents. They look just like your parents, and your parents are missing.
Yeah. After the battle, Komaru and Toku decided to stay in Towa City. They didn't want Future Foundation doing a full assault on the place and getting in a war with the remnants of despair, and they felt they knew the city well enough to be able to patrol it. They became good friends and stayed there together.
I think that's ultimately good. I like the idea of them just kind of living together and, like, just stop teasing. Just make them in a relationship, honestly.
Yeah.
Honestly. Many buildings were destroyed in the battle, and Monica was crushed underneath concrete. Nagito pulled her from the rubble and saved her, but now her legs really were paralyzed. Nagito explained that he was disappointed in how things turned out, and that he hoped that Monica would consider growing up into the next Junko. He set her up with another secret lair and provided for her temporarily so that she could continue her work of despair. So after all this, Monica gets away. Mm-hmm. She has some karmic justice, and I think we could debate about the way, you know, ableism is used here with when it comes to Monica's arc of being in a wheelchair or not. Mm-hmm. I think it probably would have been fine if there had just been better disabled representation elsewhere in the series, and it wasn't just all so hyper-centralized on Monica, the evil character.
Yeah. But
I have to admit, after seeing all the evil stuff she had done, the karmic justice there was a little sweet.
Yeah. Crap, there was something I wanted to ask.
What? About Nagito?
No, about, about Toko and Komaru. Wouldn't it have been awesome if the arc of this game was also with Toko finding out exactly how little Byakuya cared about her and just casting him aside as an obsessive figure and just being with Komaru?
Well, I would have liked something more overt, but they basically did do that. Like, at the very beginning, she's all in for Byakuya and does not care about Komaru. But by the end, she's living with Komaru, they're best friends. And Byakuya, she lets him go. She still really cares about him, but she lets him go.
Yeah, I guess so. Izuru gathered the heads of Shirokuma and Kurokuma, who dropped the act and spoke as the real successor to Junko. She told Izuru to gather the remnants of despair so that they could assist in her formulating a plan for her resurrection. Izuru destroyed the heads and removed the hard drives that constituted alter ego Junko.
Yeah, it was Junko the whole time! Yasuhiro and Kanon became friends and survived the demon hunting. Yasuhiro developed a crush on Kanon, and Kanon decided to let Yasuhiro live. She still contemplated destroying Future Foundation and revenge for Leon, but Yasuhiro decided to stay with her for a while until her bloodlust dissipated and her father paid off his debt.
Okay. Hiroko eventually managed to find all the remaining targets from the demon hunting and ensure they were rescued by Future Foundation, along with Byakuya.
Takumi returned from Spain and dropped the sparkling justice routine, as he preferred the title of Killer Killer. At his best friend Mikuru Katsuragi's recommendation, he joined the Future Foundation despite his erratic behavior. His assigned partner in the 6th Division was Misaki Asano. Takumi spent his time in the organization by hunting down serial killers and murderers. He gave each one a score out of 100 and killed any that didn't meet his expectations. Eventually, rumors spread of his title, the Killer Killer, though the Future Foundation didn't realize it was Takumi.
Wait a sec, what? So he didn't kill all serial killers or murderers, just...
Well, no, he never found one that was good enough for his taste. So he did kill them all that he met.
Oh. Okay, so if they were good enough, he would have let them live?
Well, think about it. He thinks of himself as an exception. He was looking for another exception.
Oh, okay. What is this from, anyway?
It's spin-off stuff.
Takumi, Misaki, and Juzo all went to investigate the Killing Festival, where lower-ranking followers of the Remnants of Despair were holding a deadly tournament. Juzo impersonated Ted, the ultimate pyrotechnician, when he was forced to fight Takumi. The real Ted, now follower of the Remnants of Despair, showed up and stopped the fight. He revealed to Jizo that his secretary had been murdered, and Future Foundation had Jizo as the #1 suspect. Takumi, however, killed Ted and vouched for Jizo's innocence. Okay, then.
The Remnants of Despair began going to more extremes to preserve their ideology, and so they devised some cloning experiments using DNA they acquired from Hope's Peak. However, instead of producing clones of Junko like they would have wanted, the clones turned out to be clones of Makuro, her twin sister.
Wow.
In addition, the clones were mostly programmed automatons that had no memories of the original Makuro.
Okay, then. Takumi met up with his old friend Shuji, and Takumi, Shuji, and Misaki were assaulted by Makuro clones upon investigating a facility. Takumi killed all of the Makuro clones and claimed they must have been faulty copies of the original if they were all killed so easily. Takumi thus revealed himself as the killer, which made his partner, Misaki, cry. Shuji turned on them and tried to kill Misaki, but other members of Future Foundation arrived just in time. Jizo, Sanosuke, and Ruruka tried to stop him, but Shuji escaped.
Yeah, Takumi's very much like, Makuro, you might have been the one, except you died a while back. And these clones were just nothing. That plot point is done. Shuji hijacked a broadcast to announce that he hated that there were now so many killers in the world, and he planned to make them stop. His plan began with 24 bombs throughout Japan that would kill hundreds of thousands of survivors, and he threatened he would kill if everyone else didn't stop killing. He conceded in one regard. He left a specialized collar around Misaki's neck that would detect her death. If Takumi killed Misaki, none of the bombs would detonate. This was his twisted way of making Takumi kill someone who wasn't a serial killer, in the hopes he would stop killing after killing her.
Okay.
It's needlessly complex.
Takumi and Misaki became wanted fugitives by both Future Foundation and everyone else, but Misaki wanted Takumi to kill her to save Japan. Takumi killed Shuji, and Takumi, using the thinnest blade he had, made the most perfect decapitation he could of Misaki's head. He grabbed the collar in a swift swoop, and her head returned flesh to her body, still alive. She was able to stay alive long enough to get medical attention, and the collar was destroyed, saving Japan. Are you kidding me?
He's the best killer? I don't know.
That's so dumb.
It is dumb. I'll admit, it is very, very dumb. They could have... I don't know, they could have done so many other things. Takumi promised Misaki that he would be the one to kill her, and together they decided to let that be a reality. However, they decided that they would kill each other via old age. They resigned from Future Foundation and eloped to parts unknown.
Great.
I feel like that might have been better in translation, but even then I'm not sure.
Izuru transferred alter ego Junko from the hard drives to a compact flash drive, and he gathered the remnants of despair, aside from Nagito, who was conflicted about bringing Junko back. Chisa, who was still embedded within Future Foundation, gave them intel that Future Foundation had salvaged the psychotherapeutic communication simulator from Hope's Peak Academy, and Junko orchestrated a plan to return to the world of the living and then some.
Okay. Lots of stuff happening. I do think it's worth pointing out that was either an amazing flash drive or Monokumas just have very little memory storage. Junko told the remnants of despair to willingly give themselves over to Future Foundation by pretending to not be brainwashed. In time, she thought they would see through the ruse and attempt to rehabilitate the remnants of despair with a simulation that she could use to upload her personality into a body.
Junko, however, was smart enough to arrange a backup plan. She arranged for her AI to be copied onto a second flash drive. The first was given to Izuru, but the second was given to Chisa. Chisa also was given 2 more flash drives. The first contained the Despair video, and the second contained Monokuma's Gloomy Sunday. Junko was near certain her simulation plan would work, but if it failed, Chisa would be the only remnant of Despair left. This intel was meant for her to use in a worst-case scenario.
Yeah, a lot of that you have to kind of piece together based on what happens in Danganronpa 3. But I do find it hilarious just to imagine, like, okay, Despair meeting is going now. Points of order, 4 flash drives. What do we do with them? Wait, one of the flash drives would like to make a motion. When Chisa returned to Future Foundation, she gave 2 of the flash drives, the ones containing the videos, to Kazuo. She told him that Ryota had been the one whose talent was used to make them, and Kazuo responded that perhaps Ryota should be located and admitted to Future Foundation to aid in the recovery of the world. Chisa did not mention the 3rd flash drive.
The remnants of Despair approached Future Foundation pretending to be simply survivors of Hope's Peak, and Izuru also managed to arrange Nagito's capture. However, Future Foundation discovered their true identity before long, though they did not know Chisa's involvement.
Future Foundation wanted to make an example of the remnants of Despair, but Makoto believed they could be saved. Together, he, Kyoko, and Byakuya conspired to save them. They directed Maya to use technology from the psychotherapeutic communication simulator in Hope's Peak Academy to build a facility on Jabberwock Island, a sufficiently isolated island in the Pacific Ocean and out of Future Foundation's reach.
You know, did she really think Future Foundation would try to rehabilitate them? Because it turns out she was wrong, other than Makoto deciding to do it, but...
Well, maybe she was counting on Makoto.
Maybe. That would be the only way I could imagine her thinking that they would do that, because she had to know that Future Foundation would have tried to kill them right away.
Well, she had to know they would use Makoto as they're like the face of the organization.
Yeah, fair enough. Roughly 4 years after Despair, Maya rebuilt the technology at the facility and created the Neo World program. In doing so, she also salvaged alter ego Chihiro, who assisted in getting the program operational. Maya also created an avatar to represent herself within the simulation. She took the worst parts of Monokuma and tried to create a mascot that represented hope instead of despair. She called her avatar Usami, and since she was a quiet, shy, disabled person in a wheelchair, she soon found that she preferred talking through her avatar, Usami, on a monitor instead of having to face other people directly.
I forgot that there actually was another disabled character with Maya specifically. Although she gets so little screen time. So little. It's unjust. Makoto, Kyoko, and Byakuya arranged for a shipment to Jabberwock Island, and they smuggled all of the captured remnants of despair to the island. Nagito met Izuru for the first time since his brainwashing on the ride over, and Izuru had smuggled the flash drive containing alter ego Junko aboard.
The remnants of despair were placed into 15 pods that would assimilate them into the Neo World program. Izuru managed to surreptitiously plug the flash drive into a computer without being noticed before being forced into a pod.
The Neo World program wiped years of memories from the remnants of despair, reverting them to when they were 17 years old, prior to despair. They would live in a simulation of Jabberwock Island and were guided by the autonomous artificial intelligence Usami. The goal of the exercise was to replace their terrible memories with new, bonding, happy, and hopeful ones for the purposes of rehabilitation.
Unfortunately, Izuru's memories as Hajime were completely missing, so alter ego Chihiro had to recreate Hajime's personality from old Hope's Peak records and accounts from those who had interactions with him. This resulted in him having an extremely flat personality. Really?
Yeah, I love this detail because, like, so many times in anime, and in Danganronpa specifically, the main character protagonist is just boring, ordinary male character. Young, hot-headed male that's otherwise boring and ordinary. And in the first game, Like, Makoto, like, it was clear, like, he wasn't even supposed to be there. He had won a lottery, sure, whatever, right? In the second game, Hajime, like, no, like, it's actually part of the story. Like, wait, you're a little unrealistically boring. Like, you're too boring to be a real person, right?
I didn't realize, like, where did you find this detail? Because, like, I didn't realize that it said that, like, they were missing.
They mentioned it in the last trial of the second game.
Oh, I see.
Like, there's actually unused executions that were cut from the game, and Hajime's unused execution was literally portraying him as, like, paper thin and, like, chopping him up because, like, he has a flat personality, like, very literally. Get it?
Wow.
Anyway, let's go on with the story. Chihiro also created an observer to be placed amongst the students. She made it so that the student would pull from the memories of the remnants of despair and become the embodiment of their hopes. Naturally, she manifested as Chiaki, though she was programmed to never reveal her true nature to the others, so they wouldn't learn that she had died. Alter ego Chiaki was the same mentally as the real one, but she occasionally lagged, resulting in her sleeping significantly more often.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Maya didn't want to stick around to blatantly defy Future Foundation, but Makoto and Byakuya stayed and booted the Neo World program with its 16 students, as well as Usami, who functioned as Maya's avatar, but also an independent AI that was their observer, therapist, and school teacher.
And that brings us to 2012. Team Danganronpa released a sequel to the first Danganronpa, called Danganronpa 2, Goodbye Despair, to a greater success than the first one.
All right. The students of Class 77B awoke in what appeared to be a classroom in Hope's Peak Academy, as Usami revealed to them that they were on Jabberwock Island. They couldn't remember anything prior to enrolling in Hope's Peak, but Usami told them that they would spend some time together bonding and creating new friendships.
Junko managed to corrupt the simulation and appeared in the form of a Monokuma, who jumped Usami. Usami and Monokuma brawled until Monokuma destroyed her magic stick that she used to control the simulation. Monokuma corrupted Usami and turned her into a Monokuma version of herself that he called Monami.
Usami had backup copies of herself, but the corruption turned them into Monami as well. Monokuma went even further and brought a statue of animals in the center of Jabberwock Island to life. They came into being as giant robots called Monobeasts. Each guarded a small island that made up the Jabberwock Island conglomerate.
As he did so, he began broadcasting the events in the Neo World program for the purposes of despair as a sequel to the Killing School Life, calling it the Killing School Trip. However, it was only viewable to Makoto, Kyoko, and Byakuya monitoring the Neo World program, who watched in horror, unable to intervene.
The rules of the Killing School Trip were mostly the same as the rules for the Killing School Life, except Monokuma was unable to remove Usami's pre-existing rules. Therefore, Monami was resigned to being unable to interfere with students' affairs directly, and littering was forbidden.
So Junko went from being a real person to controlling Monokuma to being dead but being uploaded into two separate Monokumas named Shirokuma and Kurokuma, and then now is alter ego Junko and then manifested as Monokuma the second as a virtual AI that's the god of the simulation?
I guess so.
Okay then. Junko doesn't die. That's the theme that we're seeing here. Junko doesn't die.
Yep.
Monami's botched execution. Monami tried to stand up to Monokuma and the Monobeast, but she was gunned down and killed. Fortunately, she had her backup bodies, but Monokuma would occasionally kill her over and over again anyway.
Monokuma occasionally dropped hints to the students about the outside world over time, including that the world had ended, that Future Foundation was involved, and that there was a traitor amongst them. However, these hints were misleading to make them paranoid of each other.
The ultimate imposter continued his favorite disguise as Byakuya Tagami, without letting on to his classmates that he was an imposter. He did make it a point to be a kinder leader than Byakuya would ever be, and he vowed that no one would die under his leadership. He actually was pretty cool. I liked him.
Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, Hajime felt insecure about being the only one to not remember his ultimate talent.
Because he never had one. Well, I guess he had all of them. It's complicated. The students were suspicious of each other, so Byakuya decided to coordinate and host a party as an opportunity to bond while also keeping eyes on each other. They did a drawing to determine who would clean the place, and Nagito was unfortunate enough to be chosen.
Nagito, however, thought the killing games would be an opportunity for Hope to crush despair, and he was eager to see how the game would play out. His obsession with Hope was so extreme that he decided to start the killing.
Yeah, the problem is even though this is rehabilitating them to when they were 17, Nagito was kind of already a bit lost by that point.
Yeah.
They didn't go back early enough. However, when Teruteru was cooking and preparing the food, he saw Nagito taping a knife under one of the tables. Teruteru confronted Nagito about it, who freely admitted to his intent to kill. But Teruteru didn't report that to the students. He worried about whether his mother was still alive or healthy, and he wanted to win the game himself.
Nagito set up the air conditioners in the party lodge along with some irons to max out the electricity's breaker at a certain time when the party started. Nagito also sent an anonymous threatening letter to Byakuya warning someone would die at the party, and so Byakuya made sure the party would be safe. He confiscated anything that could be used as a weapon, but Teruteru hid a skewer inside some meat he prepared just in case. Teruteru prepared for the murder he knew would happen soon.
When everyone gathered for the party, Byakuya had brought security equipment with him for the purposes of keeping everybody safe. During the party, the breaker was tripped and all the lights went out. Byakuya immediately put on night vision goggles he had brought and sought out the murderer.
While Nagito was heading towards the knife under the table, Teruteru snuck underneath the floorboards beneath the lodge with the skewer until he found the spot where he knew the knife was because of some glow paint that marked it.
Byakuya rushed underneath the table and saw Teruteru with the skewer beneath the floorboards. He pushed Nagito out of the way, but he realized that someone was about to murder someone. He vowed no one else would die as long as he was the leader. And so he took the next blow, as he took Nagito's place under the table. Teruteru stabbed upwards, thinking he had just killed Nagito.
However, Teruteru discovered that he had actually killed Byakuya when the power came back on, and everyone else realized Byakuya had been murdered. He decided to hide his involvement so that he could see his mother again.
After the investigation, the students had a class trial. Nagito's mental instability regarding Hope revealed itself in the trial. At first, they suspected him, but they pieced together the evidence and convicted Teruteru correctly. It's just the dumbest thing. I mean, like, okay, it's a cool story and everything, but like, this is where people start hating Nagito
Yeah.
and loving him at the same time. But like he didn't actually kill anyone, but because he was going to, Teruteru got mixed up in this. And yeah, Teruteru's not completely innocent because he acted out part of it, but at least partially he was trying to stop Nagito.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was kind of really sad about how Teruteru was like, if I didn't do it, someone else would have still done it.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Deep fried Teruteru. Teruteru's execution.
Oh, I thought I usually do the executions. You want me to do it?
Well, you did the last one.
Yeah, but I've always been doing the executions.
All right, fine.
I know you can change it up if you really want.
No, it's fine. Go ahead.
I'm pretty sure I've done all the executions so far in our Danganronpa series.
Okay.
If you have a problem, that's fine.
No, it's fine.
Okay.
Go.
A harness shot out and latched onto Teruteru, dragging him to the beach. He was restrained as Monokuma piloted an attack helicopter that shot him with dummy explosives, coating him in batter. Monokuma then dragged Teruteru via the harness that was attached to the helicopter and dunked him in the nearby volcano, deep frying him. Everyone could do nothing but watch.
When the harness comes out and latches onto him, it's sort of an echo of the first execution in the first game when that neck thing comes out and latches around Leon's neck.
Right, but they always do that in the first trial, indicating like, no, that this harness thing happens every time. It's why you can't just run away.
I see.
They only show that the extended sequence of the first execution of each game.
Yeah. While the students recuperated from the trauma, Monami defeated the horse monobeast and then the snake monobeast, giving the students access to one of the other islands, which was filled with amenities for tourism.
Hiyoko confessed to Mahiro that she hadn't taken a shower since arriving on the island, because she always had someone else dress her in her kimono. Mahiro offered to help her dress herself and take a shower with her. Afterwards, Hiyoko and Mahiro became very close and grew to like each other, just as they had in their prior school lives.
Monokuma provided the next motive by designing an arcade game he called the Twilight Syndrome Murder Case, which was based on the murders of Natsumi and Sato, while also giving a glimpse into the students' past.
The students agreed not to play the game nor fall for the motive, but that didn't last. Fuyuhiko was the first to play the game and complete it, along with the secret ending. As the first person to complete it, he won some photos showing the murders of Natsumi and Sato, as well as a photo of Ibuki, Mikan, and Hiyoko, who had been involved in the incident.
Fuyuhiko was suspicious of Mahiro, who had been friends with Sato. He suspected she may have been the one to kill his sister, though none of them could remember the event. Mahiro played the game as well, and she became terrified that someone might want her dead for her past actions that she couldn't remember.
This is bad. Mahiro spoke with Hiyoko about her fears, but Fuyuhiko eavesdropped on them. Fuyuhiko wanted to arrange a private meeting with Mahiro, where he planned on confronting Mahiro for murdering his sister and possibly avenge her. He is Yakuza.
Fuyuhiko confided in Peko about his desire of vengeance, and so Peko suggested to arrange the meeting. However, she knew that Fuyuhiko was thinking to murder Mahiro, and so she decided to instead function as a tool for him to prevent his involvement entirely.
She's his servant. Peko forged letters between Mahiro and Hiyoko, convincing them to meet up at the beach house, but she staggered the times they were to arrive. When Hiyoko arrived, she knocked her unconscious and put her in a closet, in the hopes of framing her for what would happen next.
When Mahiro arrived, Fuyuhiko was waiting for her. When their argument became heated and Peko could sense Fuyuhiko's bloodlust, she jumped out from behind Mahiro, beating her in the back of the head with the metal bat, killing her. She told Fuyuhiko to go away, telling him she had already made preparations for this. Peko tampered with the crime scene in the hopes of incriminating Hiyoko for Mahiro's murder before escaping the beach house in a ninja escapade.
Escapade.
Yes.
So this is sad. Peko feels like she had to murder for Fuyuhiko, and Fuyuhiko's like, you murdered for me? Because while he is Yakuza, he talks a lot more than he's actually willing to act. At least at this point of his life when he was 17. Because he doesn't have the memories of all the people he murdered after that point. Remember how they murdered Congress?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. After the investigation, the students had a class trial. At first, they suspected Hiyoko because of how thoroughly she had been framed. But they pieced together the evidence and convicted Peko. In a desperate ploy, she tried to pretend to be the serial killer sparkling justice, and then argued Fuyuhiko was the actual murderer. She considered herself just a tool, not a person, and therefore the vote was incorrect. When Fuyuhiko confessed his love for her, Monokuma admitted that excuse wasn't valid. Because you can't love a tool. I mean, whatever. One-woman army. Peko's execution. Peko was dragged to a cliffside to fight animatronic samurai, but Monokuma used a marionette doll to control her actions as a lifeless tool. In so doing, she fought a last stand against the samurai, but Fuyuhiko ran into the crowd to interrupt the execution. Monokuma stopped using the doll, giving Peko her free will back, just in time for Peko to mistakenly slash Fuyuhiko, mortally wounding him. As the samurai surrounded her, she shielded him with her body as they stabbed her repeatedly.
The other students accused Monokuma of breaking the rules by executing Fuyuhiko, so Monokuma intervened by rushing Fuyuhiko to the hospital on the next island. While the students recuperated from the trauma, Monomi defeated the Tiger Monobeast, giving the students access to one of the other islands, which was filled with businesses like venues and a hospital.
I think, by the way, Pekka's execution really kind of mimics her life. She tried to act like she wasn't a tool, and then when she got her free will back, used it to accidentally nearly maim her beloved, and then sacrifices her life to try to save him. It's really gut-wrenching. We'll have a link in the description of the executions. We did that last time, right?
I don't remember.
Whatever. We'll have one link or the other. Look in the description. Mikan helped nurse Fuyuhiko back to health, particularly when he committed seppuku as an apology to the other students.
While Ibuki was hosting a concert for the students in the music venue, Monami warned them that Akane was fighting Monokuma. Monokuma unleashed an energy blast upon Akane for violating the rules, but Nekomaru intercepted it to save her life. Once again, the students demanded that Nekomaru be saved since he hadn't broken any rules to deserve punishment.
Monokuma was obliged to save Nekomaru, but he had to provide a new body for his consciousness as the old one was blasted to bits. Monokuma began altering the code of the game to construct a new body, but told the students he would need time to heal. So he's literally obligated by the rules. He has to obey the rules.
Mm-hmm. Monokuma provided the next motive by offering showings of a movie he had made about himself. However, most of the students didn't watch it except for Mikon and Hajime.
Since his motive wasn't enticing, Monokuma made a new motive, introducing artificial despair diseases of his own design. The students protested this wasn't a fair motive, but Monokuma did not care. They discovered that Nagito, Ibuki, and Akane had contracted the liar, gullible, and coward diseases respectively.
Hajime and Mikon quarantined Nagito, Ibuki, and Akane in the hospital, while the rest stayed away. Mikon agreed to nurse them back to health, but she didn't reveal that she had contracted a disease as well, the remembering disease. She regained her memories from her time being a remnant of despair back and reverted to her brainwashed state.
This is basically the worst trial in the entire game, because in the second game, because it doesn't make any sense until you've beaten the game and you know the twists at the end, right? Mm-hmm. It just looks like Mikon goes crazy. Mm-hmm. We only learn later on, like, oh, she remembered being a remnant of despair and all that.
Yeah.
Mikon, as a remnant of despair, immediately prepared to murder someone. She was aware of Monokuma's true identity and wished to please her. She took advantage of Ibuki's inflicted gullibility to lead her to the music venue, where she strangled her to death. However, right when she was doing so, Hiyoko entered the music venue and saw Mikon committing the murder. Ibuki was so cool, too.
Mm-hmm. To prevent Hiyoko from
Did we mention Ibuki was a lesbian? She's like the only confirmed lesbian in the series.
I guess. I don't know if we've mentioned that.
Well, she is.
To prevent Hiyoko from talking, Mikon slit Hiyoko's throat, killing her too. Mikon had to improvise, and she decided to frame the murders on Hajime. She hung Ibuki's body as planned, and she tied Hiyoko's to a pole. She then covered Hiyoko's body with wallpaper to hide it in an attempt to confuse the crime scene.
Mikon is heavily implied to be a lesbian too, though.
Yeah.
Because none of the interactions she has with men are consensual.
Mm-hmm.
Mikon hijacked the communication device that was set up between the hospital and the unaffected students. She created a duplicate set in the hospital so that she could confuse things even further by pretending to be Ibuki and killing herself.
When Hajime awoke, he turned on the device and saw Mikon pretending to be Ibuki on the barely lit monitor, trying to hang herself. Hajime immediately ran to the music venue and saw Ibuki's hanged body. He then ran to get the other students.
However, right as he left, Mikon entered the music venue and tampered with the crime scene to make Hajime's testimony unreliable. She also revealed Hiyoko's body to confuse the killing order, and she sealed the room shut with glue. She was with the others when they busted down the door and discovered the bodies.
After the investigation, the students had a class trial. At first they suspected Hajime, but they pieced together the evidence and convicted Mikon correctly.
Bye-bye ouchies, Mikon's execution. Mikon was glad to be of service to Monokuma, but she was executed all the same. She was dragged to a hospital bed, where Monokuma brought a giant syringe. He pumped it into the fleshy arm rocket upon which the bed lay, priming it for launch. Mikon rode the rocket into the sky, where she died through asphyxiation immediately. This is one of the worst executions.
Yeah, we came up with better ideas for this after watching.
Like the whole thing is basically like, oh yeah, she was promiscuous. It's like a phallus, and she's, and like literally, she was never interested in men. Mm-hmm. You could maybe argue Hajime as the main character, since the main character can hang out with anyone, but she never showed an interest in men. It was always her being the victim. Mm-hmm. The only woman she ever showed interest in was Junko. So this should not have been a phallus. This should have been like female imagery. There should have been like a sand pit. I don't know.
Yeah. While the students recuperated from the trauma, Monami defeated the Eagle Mono Beast, giving the students access to one of the other islands, which was filled with amusement park attractions.
Monokuma finished Nekomaru's new body, which was designed to be like a robot. As a gag, he designed the body with as many ridiculous functions as he could imagine. A good night button that put him to sleep, an atomic clock that regulated his heartbeat, liquid eyes that dispensed cola and tea, retaining the necessity to eat, and more. Mechamaru, as he was now known, was just happy to be back with the rest of them, particularly Akane. He's actually pretty cool. Like, he doesn't even care that he's ridiculous now.
Monokuma convinced the students to go to the funhouse, but he gassed them, knocking them unconscious. When they awoke, they were all trapped in the funhouse, a house designed by Monokuma to be intentionally deceptive in its construction. It was divided into two parts, Strawberry House and Grape House. However, the students only had theories as to the construction of the house.
Monokuma revealed to them that the next motive would be crueler than ever. They were trapped in the funhouse with no food, so they would slowly starve, all the while being surrounded by pictures of fruit. Furthermore, Monokuma made them wake early every morning for Monokuma Tai Chi exercises to exhaust them.
Monokuma said that they could escape by committing a murder. He enticed them with something called the Final Dead Room, a deadly challenge that could result in info or weapons to help commit a murder.
The students held out for days, refusing to kill anyone, slowly starving themselves to death. Sonya and Gundam, meanwhile, grew exceptionally fond of each other. Literally, normally when you hang out with your classmates, you can go do activities, be at the beach, go to a venue, go on a date, stuff like that, right? Mm-hmm. When you're in the funhouse, your hangout activities are like, let's lay on the ground and use as little energy as possible because we're starving.
Mm-hmm. However, Gundam was the first to break, deciding that he would give up his life along with another student to save the rest. He chose to target Mechamaru, rationalizing that he had already died and wasn't quite human anymore.
I mean, I get it, but that's harsh.
Mm-hmm.
While most people were sleeping, Gundam went to the Final Dead Room, where he had to solve a challenging puzzle that culminated in requiring him to play Russian roulette. He put in a single bullet and survived the game. In return, he was given access to the Octagon, a room that connected Strawberry and Grape houses.
The houses were actually stacked on top of each other, whereas the other students thought they were adjacent. This allowed Gundam to hop between the houses via a secret passage. He then disabled the elevator that normally allowed access between the houses, and he set all of the clocks back so that everyone, except for Mechamaru, would oversleep and miss Monokuma Taichi.
When Mechamaru awoke, he couldn't go to the Grape Tower in the Grape House because the elevator was broken, so he went to the Strawberry Tower instead, which was where Gundam ambushed him. Gundam sent his hamsters after Mechamaru. However, Mechamaru understood what Gundam was trying to do, and chose to not put up a fight, giving in so that their classmates could be free. The hamsters pressed Mechamaru's goodnight button, putting him to sleep. Again, Nekamaru is one of the best characters.
Mm-hmm. Using wire he had found in the Octagon, Gundam strung up Mechamaru's body to a doorknob and set the alarm to Mechamaru's atomic clock. Gundam, knowing the secret of the funhouse, knew the two towers were actually one large elevator. He destroyed the button to operate it after activating it, hanging Mechamaru delicately by a wire from one floor, suspended 3 floors above the ground.
Using the secret passageway, Gundam returned to Grape House and dropped some weaponry as a half-hearted attempt to obfuscate the crime scene. When he tried to return to his room, he found Fuyuhiko was unable to sleep and hanging out in the lounge. So when the alarm clock went off, he pretended the alarm had woken him up.
Mechamaru woke when the alarm went off, but in so doing, his precarious position collapsed, chopping him several floors, where he fell on his head and died again. The other students shortly thereafter awoke.
During the investigation, Nagito decided to go to the Final Dead Room. However, instead of putting only 1 out of 6 bullets in the gun, he only removed 1 bullet, leaving 5 out of the 6. He played Russian roulette on the hardest difficulty, and fortunately won.
This should have been where he died.
Nagito and his luck. It is just so OP.
Monokuma was obligated to give every award he had prepared for every difficulty to Nagito, which included access to the Octagon, a detailed dossier on every student, and Monokuma's special poison. He learned not only that Hajime had new talent, but also that they were all the remnants of despair. When he returned to the students, he despised every one of them.
Oh, there is such a shift in the way Nagito talks to all of them. Previously, he's like, hope is better than despair, right? You're all in on that. And after this, he's like, hope is better than despair, all you idiots. You terrible moron despair people. After the investigation, the students had a class trial. At first, they had to figure out how the funhouse worked to even understand what had happened, but they pieced together the evidence and convicted Gundam correctly, who willingly gave up after what he considered an appropriate challenge. He does take his time doing it, but he is one of the few that actually just goes like, yeah, it was me, I'm sorry. Because this challenge was just so cruel. Like the motive. Yeah. Monokuma is getting less and less fair as these games go on.
Yep.
Gundam Tanaka Stampede, Gundam's execution. Gundam was dragged to the beach, where Monokuma led a horde of various large animals in a stampede. As the stampede approached, Gundam found a secluded spot where he left his beloved hamsters so that they would be safe. Aww. He then faced the stampede alone, where he drew a dark magic circle to cast a spell to defeat the stampede. The spell appeared to light for a moment, but it did nothing, because magic was fake, and he was trampled to death. His hamsters believed to see his soul go to rodent heaven.
Aww.
Gundam was such a good person.
Sonya...
Despite his personality.
Yeah. Sonya adopted Gundam's hamsters and vowed to care for them.
She was so heartbroken. While the students recuperated from the trauma, Monami defeated the gorilla Monobeast, giving the students access to the last of the other islands, which was filled with military-grade weapons and automation systems. Monokuma converted the island to process trees and any other materials into additional extra lives for himself.
Nagito realized that if they were all remnants of despair, then the only person he could hope to be worth saving would be the traitor among them. So he decided to give his life to force the traitor to come forward.
Nagito found a bomb and a bunch of fireworks on the latest island, and he used the bomb to explode the hotel lobby, putting the few surviving students in a panic. He gave them an ultimatum, 2 days to find the rest of the bombs. He threatened to blow up Jabberwock Island if the traitor didn't come forward.
The students didn't believe there was even a traitor among them, aside from the so-called traitor, of course. What does that mean?
Obviously, the traitor knew there was a traitor.
Oh, yeah, I see. They spent the next 2 days desperately searching for where Nagito had hid the bombs, not realizing that it had all been a bluff. When the students started to become desperate, Akane attempted to strangle Nagito to death to torture him for the information, but Chiaki convinced her to stop.
While the students continued to search, Nagito set up a plan to both use and overcome his own luck to weed out the traitor. He acquired gloves, a gas mask, and a fire-extinguishing grenade from the military base and the Spear of Gungnir from Nezumi Castle on the amusement park island.
Nagito used the military goods to transfer Monokuma's special poison into the fire grenade. He then put the tampered fire grenade back with the rest of the emergency supplies between the factory and the warehouse.
Nagito later set up a laptop with pre-recorded messages for during and after his plan had occurred. He set it up with the fireworks that were loaded into a truck. The students eventually found the truck, but Nagito was gone.
Nagito then entered the warehouse and set up an MP3 player to play ominous music to lure the students. By utilizing panels for a domino effect and a lit lighter, he prepared a chain reaction that would light the warehouse on fire from within.
Nagito then tied up most of his limbs and hung the Spear of Gungnir so that it would pierce him if dropped. He then used a knife to inflict severe wounds on himself to give the impression he was tortured.
The students listened to Nagito's message, which made them think the fireworks were bombs. But then they went off. The fireworks exploded mostly harmlessly. They heard the music in the warehouse nearby, but when they entered, they started the chain reaction that led to the warehouse catching on fire. As
soon as the fire started, Sonya told the rest of them about the fire grenades. They all grabbed them and started throwing. One of them grabbed the tampered fire grenade without knowing and threw poison into the room. The poison evaporated into a gaseous state, and Nagito fell unconscious from breathing it in. The spear of Gungnir then pierced him, leaving no doubt to his death.
After the investigation, the students had a class trial. At first, they suspected Nagito had simply killed himself to make them suspicious of each other, but what he had done was much worse. He had made one of them unwittingly killed him, and they weren't able to know who had done it. However, they remembered Nagito's talent as the ultimate lucky student. They rationalized that it would have been fortunate for him, for the traitor, to have been the one to kill him and survive the class trial.
His talent. It's always luck with him.
He used it.
The students debated to figure out the identity of the traitor before realizing that it was Chiaki. They didn't understand why, but she was programmed to never reveal her identity. She told them to vote her guilty to protect themselves. But Monami began to panic. Monami attempted to defend Chiaki, but the students decided. Monokuma revealed that they were indeed correct, that Nagito's luck had ensured Chiaki was the one to kill him.
Monami was desperate, so she threatened to kill Monokuma repeatedly until they both ran out of extra lives. However, Monokuma had killed Monami so many times that she only had 10 lives left. Monokuma, meanwhile, had accumulated 10 to the 60th power extra lives, making her threats useless. Monokuma decided to rid himself of Monami for good.
Please insert coin. Chiaki's and Monami's execution. Chiaki and all of Monami's remaining lives were all dragged into an execution chamber designed on a space shooter arcade game. While Monokuma used a tank to blast Monami's to death, Chiaki decided she wouldn't just sit there and accept death. She and Monami saw an exit and ran for their lives. But a robotic Pac-Man followed and killed all of the Monamis except for the one holding Chiaki's hand. They escaped from the execution and the Pac-Man, only to find they were now in the real execution chamber, where giant colorful blocks fell from above. As the blocks piled up, they were trapped. One fell and smashed Monami, killing her. Chiaki had to sit there with nothing she could do, as a line block smashed her and scored a Tetris. It was so sad.
Yeah, this is the saddest.
She didn't even mean to do it.
Yeah,
I will never forgive him for that.
Yeah, I know. That's why, one of the reasons why I hate Nagito so much.
It's fun to hate him, but some people genuinely love him, and that's just... Chiaki was just so sweet.
Chiaki was the best.
I'm sorry we went a bit long this time, but we had to get to at least that point. We'll finish up next time, okay? This has been Game Theory.
Bye.